Good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express Papers Chandigarh edition. Today's news analysis starts with the world section. So, first of all, we get an update of the Ukraine Russia war. And we see there is an intensification of war. Ukraine earlier was only defending, but now it is targeting the capital of Russia with the help of drones. Further, we get to know that Russia is going to start a major offensive as it has received missiles and drones from Iran. So, this is mentioned over here. Okay, let's move on. Something relevant for India. India funded Bangla projects to continue, says Mohammad Yunus, the interim government advisor. Right? So, India and Bangladesh have a good relationship, and especially under the expelled leader who was the head of Awami League, that is Sheikh Hasina. So during her time, especially the relationship between India and Bangladesh blossomed. It was very nice. But now, since she has been expelled, she had to run away from her country. There was a concern that India-Bangladesh relationship may get compromised. In fact, I feel the very mention of the statement over here is indicative that there is a concern that there will be a decline in India-Bangladesh relationship. Okay. Now it says projects. So which projects are being undertaken by India and Bangladesh? So let us look at them. So some of the projects that were recently announced are mentioned, and this is not something very new. These are proposals and this continues. So some of them from the PIB itself I'm taking. So we have some rail projects, power projects, right? Besides, we can add some connectivity projects such as initiatives under Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar project, PCIM project, then projects under BIMSTEC. So a lot of initiatives are there, especially being undertaken by India in Bangladesh. Now we come to the front page. There is a mention of elections in Jammu and Kashmir. And as we know, Election Commission of India is responsible for the conduct of elections. Okay, so it says don't shift booths or cancel rallies, no preventive detentions. Okay, this is to increase participation in elections. Now, preventive detention is mentioned in your polity. It is mentioned in Article 22(3) of the Constitution. So a lot of news about this is there, which we will just see the headlines, right? We don't really have to go deep into it. There is also a mention of the model code of conduct. We will do it later. Briefly, we'll cover that. Okay. The chairperson of SEBI, Madhabi Book. So there is an allegation by the opposition, Congress, that she has been getting money payments from a consultancy firm known as Agora. We also know previously allegations were made that she got funding from her previous employer, ICICI Securities. So this, all this is happening. This raises the concerns of conflict of interest. That is, she is getting payments or she is providing her services despite being the chairperson of a regulatory body, that is SEBI. So this is an issue concerning conflict of interest. And in the recent times, UPSC has been asking questions on it. For instance, 2018, what is meant by conflict of interest? Illustrate with examples the difference between the actual and potential conflicts of interest. 2018. By the way, this is the very same year when Lodha committee report for conflict of interest in cricket was announced. Besides, we also have a case study in which conflict of interest is taken up. So this is a very important topic which needs to be prepared. Now, with regards to Maldives, there is some progress. So previously we heard that India and Maldives had a defense dialogue, possibly a military exercise will be undertaken. Now we hear that the president of Maldives, Muizu, who campaigned, who came up with the campaign of India out, that India should not be prevalent in Maldives. There is uh, interference by India in Maldives. So this person is going to visit India, and there is going to be a thaw in relationship between the two countries. Thaw means melting of ice. Thaw means normalization of relationship, or at least a starting of that. Okay, very interesting. 20-kilometer daily free travel each way on national highway for vehicles with sat nav system. So presently, when we travel on the highways, we pay tolls, right? We stand on the booths and we have to pay the toll. We had the fast tag also. But this leads to congestion on the tolls. So to avoid that, especially in some other countries, they are using satellite navigation, connecting the car with the global navigation-based systems, navigation satellite system, which keeps a track of how much the car is traveling on the highway. And based on that, the toll is automatically deducted. So this has been done in developed nations. Same is being implemented. That is what it means. And 20 kilometers, first 20 kilometers on that highway would be free. After that, charges would be levied. So let's move forward. Front page is the one where we get most of the news articles. Okay. Next. Crimes against children on the rise despite the POCSO Act. So this act is basically Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. Now this should come under GS2 because we're talking about a law and this is a governance issue. But yes, the prevalence of crime and specifically against the children can be seen from a social perspective also. So society. Depends how the question is framed. It can be asked in GS1 as well as GS2. Society, while what is the government doing for the vulnerable section, the review of the law, etc., will be into GS2. Now, as far as we are concerned, we get NCRB data in National Crime Record Bureau. Anything with regards to crime, be it on women, be it with regards to child accidents, anything, we refer to the NCRB. And it says that there is a increase in crime rate, 16.2% over 2020. So there is a rapid increase in crimes against children despite this law. Fine. So this is the theme. And the one reference that has been made is the use of social media, which makes children more vulnerable and easier to be targeted. Okay, so that's one issue that we have. So that's one thing that, why is this happening from a social perspective, from law perspective, we can see. Other, do you see crimes against children on the rise despite this act? Can we put it this way, that having a strong law has not resulted in reduction in crime? One of the purposes of a strong law is that it is a deterrent, but that is not happening. So that can be seen over here. For example, I can correlate with this thing. For example, capital punishment for rape or child sex rape. But we do not see good execution of that law, good conviction rate, and thereby the fear of law is still not there. So strong laws automatically do not lead to a reduction in crime. There are other legal, social factors that needs to be considered as well. Okay, this topic can be prepared. Haven't seen questions, but this is a very important social issue which should be covered and you should prepare it. Stubble burning. So we are in middle of September, right? And then burning of stubble will start taking place. Winters will start, and the capital region, national capital region, normally sees pollution in this time, and this is compounded by the stubble burning. So the nearby states, and since we are in Punjab, so we have a news concerning that Punjab is taking proactive measures in dealing with stubble burning. Okay. Today I'm not really doing this, I'm just giving an overview of this. So stubble burning, so what measures should be taken, how should we manage the stubble, right? All those things can be seen. Here there is the mention of crop residue machines. So these are being supplied. Beside, there is a mention of super seeder machines. Elections in Haryana. Haryana government calls meet to promote 6 IPS officers. IGP knocks election commission and says it's model code violation. Promotion of 6 IPS officers. And the chief of the police is saying it's a model code violation. So we're talking about the model code of conduct. So what is this model code of conduct? So model code of conduct is released by the Election Commission of India, and please, this is important for prelims, and this comes into force immediately when the elections are announced by the Election Commission of India. So when elections are announced, immediately then this thing comes into force. The idea of the model code of conduct is that the ruling party, the party in power, the one of main reason actually is that it does not misuse its power to gain unfair advantage. For example, maybe promoting loyalists, so they give favor to them during the election process. I'm just saying, right? So that's one of the things. Besides, of course, there should be free, fair elections, misuse of cash, all those things are also part of it. These are released by the Election Commission of India. This is a very, very important topic. Let's move forward. So again, with regards to J&K elections, we have news. Okay, now this is nice. Government invites top research institutes to partner with cities. And this is about the Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Here we get to know about the mechanism, the working of this foundation, the idea behind it, and very important thing that this has a governing body and its president is the Prime Minister. This is important for the prelims, of course. Now let me just go with the article and let me tell you what is this thing, right? Okay. So Anusandhan Research, National Research Foundation, by the way, this term means immersion of mind. This is about R&D. So in India, the R&D spending is very low. As a percentage of GDP, it's about 0.7 to 0.8% of GDP. And this needs to be much more if we have to compete with countries like China, US, right? So that's those countries. So much more needs to be done. Further, we are saying that this research and development and the spending that is happening, this happening primarily at the top research institutes like IITs, TIS, etc. So that's also a problem. Otherwise, in other countries, normal universities are the nerve centers of research, right? So concentration, that's a concern. This has to be diluted. Okay. Besides, there is a lack of participation of the private sector, which has a major stake in research and development, right? So that's also a concern. Plus, there is too much of regulatory hassle, how that money should be spent and all those things. Scientists are not doing research, but they are being bogged down by the processes as to how the funds will be used, etc., paperwork, etc. Now, what is this body? This body is to address all of this, to increase the money available so that the spend on R&D can increase. It says that there shall be 50,000 crores, a fund of 50,000 crores, which should be spent over a period of 5 years. Of this, the government is putting in 14,000 crores, and the rest it hopes comes from private sector and philanthropists. Right? Because private sector, if they do it, then they will have a stake. They will see that this R&D is being done in areas of their interest. It is relevant. In fact, the projects that would be taken under this initiative would be on those issues which are of growth concerns for the country. Somewhere it's mentioned over here. Okay, so I've told you about the funding. I've told you about the role of the private sector over here. Then, this is based on the hub and spoke model. You can imagine the wheel of a cycle. So this is the hub and it is connected with spokes. So it says that the top research institutions, they will handhold and support the other varsities so that they are empowered. There is a know-how as to how research and development has to be done and all those things. So it will handholding 3 to 7 universities in carrying out scientific research in any of the high priority areas concerning the country's growth and development. So it's based on hub and spoke model. And it hopes over the next 5 years, we hope to see at least 20 such hub and spoke models. Okay, so that's it. And lastly, the purpose which have come in earlier, the purpose is financial resources available. So that has to be increased, which I told you. And second, expand the research base in the country. 20 such hub and spoke model is expanding research base of the country. Simple as that. Okay. Next is cyber crime, an important aspect of national security, says Amit Shah. Right. And he says at the foundation meeting of I4C. So this was formed in 2018, but the first foundation is being held recently. So that is 2024. And cybercrime will obviously come under the Home Ministry. Okay, the full form is Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center. 4 C's are there. Okay. So, and this includes the following: Samanvay, Cyber Commandos Program, Suspect Registry, etc. So, idea is to deal with cyber crime. Now, the issue of cybercrime is very, very, very important from internal security point of view, which is in GS3, as you know, obviously recently questions are being asked, and one of the reasons is that cyber crimes are actually increasing with greater proliferation of Digital India initiative. The number of internet users was 25 crores in 2014. It has increased to 95 crores, while our population is what, 1.4 billion. Further, Jandan accounts are there, so online banking and all those things. So cyber crimes have increased, and therefore much more needs to be done to deal with the issue of cyber crime. This has to be prepared. Previously, question has been asked on cyber security policy 2013, right? So this policy, then cyber security policy itself talked about the need for cyber soldiers, or a workforce regarding the people who deal with cyber issues. So we have cyber commandos now, a fancy word for that. So that is there. Further, in Kerala, there is something known as Iron Dome project. So that was also asked recently. So any state-related initiative also can be picked up. Okay, the poor dog that you see is a wolf, which this pack of wolves created a havoc in Uttar Pradesh. So this wolf has been captured over here, and I was reading more about it. I was looking for its IUCN status, etc., which I could not find. So this is primarily found in this region over here, this geography, UP. This photo is from UP. Next, NBWL, National Board for Wildlife, clears power lines in national park. Which national park? Mollem National Park in Kerala. Goa. Right, so this national park. And this national park is a flamingo habitat. Why is this of concern? So power lines are there. So overhead power lines would be going through a national park, and these birds are passing through it, and their life will be under threat. Their ecosystem is under threat, and thereby this topic is there in news. Now let me show you the flamingo bird. This is the flamingo bird over here. All right. Mollem is in Goa, as you already know by now. Now, with regards to national parks, you should have basic details as to which species are found. Normally, national parks are around a river, so you should have an idea of that also. Here, there is a mention of Dudhsagar waterfalls, very famous waterfall. So again, so this is close to this national park and associated waterfall. Match the following type questions can also be asked. Editorial opinion section. I'm taking up this article, pulling back from the edge. This is about suicide issue and raising the guardrails. This is about digital public infrastructure. So let's cover the first article over here. Okay. So basically, there is a not-for-profit organization known as Lancet. Anything to do with health, you want data, you refer to Lancet, right? So, and National Family Health Survey, you can also be referred to. So Lancet conducted a report, a study, And it raised concerns about the high suicide rates in the country. It quoted the NCRB data. It says 17.1 lakh people died in 2022 with suicide, and this is about 12.4 per 1 lakh individuals. This is a very big number. There is a public health approach which is required to deal with suicide prevention. In fact, this is the name of the report. Now, it says that the suicide issue has to be, we have to look at the issue of family history, mental ill health, drug and alcohol abuse. Now, as far as India is concerned, we have our own national suicide prevention strategy, which has three objectives. So, one is surveillance mechanism to observe for this concerns. Second is psychiatric outpatient departments, medicinal things, and mental well-being curriculum. So, these are the things that are being taken up. There is also a mention of farmers and daily wage workers, plus besides students who are affected with suicides. Now, next we come to raising the guardrails. This is about the digital public infrastructure. So, we have this digital public infrastructure, be it with regards to proliferation of internet, digital India, be it with regards to the use of social media, right? Then Jandan accounts, banking services. So, with more and more people into the digital age, we need to have greater protections also. So, that's what it is saying. It says that if we are having these protections, the regulatory environment should be there, but it should be based on a soft touch approach. In fact, the word used over here is soft laws are required. Because if we have too stringent or too rigid regulatory frameworks, then the internet or the digital realm, which requires innovation, that will come down. It will hamper this. So, therefore, soft touch approach is required. And it says there should be emphasis on data encryption, access restrictions, and mandating user consent for data usage. Further, we can refer to the right to be forgotten and other things as well. Now we come to the business section. As far as we are concerned, not much today. There is a mention of Financial Action Task Force. It says India bats for new disclosure norms for cross-border credit card transaction. Credit card transactions, FATF. Okay. So FATF, I'm not discussing the news today, but we should know about the FATF. So this is an intergovernmental organization. This is something that UPSC, asks that this body is there. Is it a NGO? Is it a governmental organization part of the UN? So it's a intergovernmental organization, and this was mainly to deal with the issue of money laundering. Later on, even because money laundering is linked with terrorism, so terror related aspects are also covered into this, but primarily it is for money laundering. There is a mention of rural electrification. So it says that UPA government's rural electrification scheme, Rajiv Gandhi Vidyuktikaran Yojana, has had a positive impact on life, socio-economic aspects. Obviously, electricity, more employment opportunities, quality of life improves, etc. Okay, coming to the last part, that is the explained section. So let's do it in sequence. There is a research that was conducted in New York by the University of Washington, and it found that because of pandemic, the teen girls' brains aged rapidly. How do we know? So the outer layer of the brain, known as cortex, that it has thinned much prior to when it should have happened, adolescence, etc. So that happens primarily during the age of adolescence, when but this is happening sooner because of COVID-19. Now the thinning of the cortex is associated with stress, right? So stress, etc. So that is the factor. Depression, anxiety, that is what it is reflecting. And pandemic may have caused social deprivation also. So those factors have led to this cortex thinning. Overall, it is not such a bad thing also, but the early occurrence of this is not good. Next is antimicrobial resistance. There is an explainer. I would want you to read elsewhere, right? Because we can get a lot more content over here. Overall, antimicrobial resistance, as the word goes, it means that the antibiotics that are there, they are not working on the common microbes that are there which cause diseases. Of particular concern are these three that are mentioned. So E. coli, which is associated with stomach gut infections. Then we have, same as mentioned here, Klebsiella pneumonia, which causes pneumonia and urinary tract infections, and this one, Acinetobacter baumannii. It's with hospital acquired infections. So antibiotics are not working on this. Okay. So the thing is, with the higher usage of antibiotics, the microbes are getting resistant to it. Further, besides the use of antibiotics, it is also discharge of antibiotics or discharge of medical waste, which is exposing the environment with the bacteria, with the antibiotics, and automatically they are getting resistant. So this is a concern, a very grave concern, which needs to be looked into. I want you to prepare this separately. Last, everything about Polaris Dawn mission. Okay, this is a private initiative primarily organized by SpaceX, Elon Musk's private space agency. What this wants to do is it wants to have organized spacewalks for commercial purposes. So first ever private spacewalk is being organized. Test flights are going on for this, right? Spacewalk. That is, the astronauts leave their space station, for example, International Space Station. They go out and then they come back. So a private initiative for the same.